So this is it, ladies and gentlemen. We're outside Europe's largest art house cinema. Look. Unbelievable. Good afternoon everybody and welcome to Nomad, the World is My Beat. I'm journalist Lisa Foreman and I'm taking you around the world with me in my suitcase. We're in Montreuil, which is a Paris adjacent neighbourhood. It seems to be its own city. It's no longer Paris, I think it's actually Saint-Denis. Now until recently, my explorations of this neighbourhood had got me as far as over there on the left is the exit of the metro, and up there, about a 3-minute walk up there, is a friend of mine's dance school. Bruno and his partner Claudia opened a dance school, and so from time to time when I have got the energy in Paris, I head up there to do dance. Now, as some of you might know, one of my recent passions is exploring what I can do with the platform home exchange and staying in other people's homes. Now, I have a hard time staying put. I like to be on the move all the time, but I try and use Paris as my European base. And what I've done is get to stay in a good dozen neighbourhoods, which you can learn about by going back 2 episodes and watching our I Sold My Bed to See Paris edition. But this is a different subject. So early on in this series, I think it was in our 2nd episode, I went on my annual post-Cannes Film Festival trek down to the Amalfi Coast to stay in a tiny village called Montreuil. And on the way back, after collecting my suitcases on the train ride back, the long train ride back to Paris, I headed to Marseille, which I'm really curious about. And I stayed near a neighbourhood called Notre Dame de something or other, which is Time Out readers had voted the coolest neighbourhood in the world in, could it be 2024? But when I got there, all I found was a lot of graffiti and a lot of people drinking in bars. And it didn't float my boat, because I really am an explorer and I like to find the unknown. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm going to call the most exciting neighbourhood to discover in the world, or at least one of them. This is my new neighbourhood, Montreuil. I dig it. So I'm staying in there. So as you can see, there's all these crumbling old buildings everywhere. Graffiti. Oh my god, the smell of the cooking going on around me, it's like the equal of the square in Marrakesh. It's just people grilling the most delicious meat. But look, brand new apartment block on this funky street. It's just the best of both worlds. So before coming out tonight, I was reading something about, what is it called? Cosmetorexica, where young people today are afraid to go out without having the most perfect skin and face, and like 8-year-olds are in Sephora buying shit. So I mean, look at the state of me. My hair needs doing, I need a facelift, I look tired, I look really old, but I'm walking through Montreuil, exploring it anyway and sticking myself on camera. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I call a neighbourhood worth discovering. I mean, look at it. It goes from grotty old houses that are falling apart to yesteryear mansions. Look at some of those. To state-of-the-art kind of, guess that's public housing. And for some unknown reason, somewhere near it, look, a church up there is Europe's largest art house cinema. I mean, if it's good enough for Mew Mew Man, it's good enough for me. Hidden between this higgledy-piggledy mass of different buildings is like an outdoor shopping mall. Orange, Hema, Carrefour. To me, that's statement making that Europe's largest art house cinema is in this neighbourhood. I just got a sense of the place having edges and things to discover that I had no idea existed. What a lineup for Art House Cinema. This is like this week's programme. Now, I have to confess something that as a film journalist, a film business journalist, that is slightly embarrassing. I had no idea that Montreuil is where the first film studios in the world was built. Cinema itself was invented by the Lumiere brothers in Lyon, yes, but it was Georges Méliès who in 1897 built the first purpose-built film studio in history right here in Montreuil, in his own family's garden. Méliès is the father of everything we take for granted in cinema: special effects, narrative fiction, editing, split screens, dissolves. He made nearly 500 films here before Hollywood was even a twinkle in anyone's eye. And then Pathé came. Charles Pathé built his own studios right here on the Rue du Sergent Bobilo in 1904. And for a period, this quiet suburb of Paris was the filmmaking capital of the world. Abel Gance shot Napoleon here, René Clair worked here. The films that defined early cinema were made on this street. That building is still standing, the Pathé building, and listed as a French historic monument. And it's now a thriving art centre called Espace Albatros, hosting exhibitions, performances, live events and rehearsals. And then separately, the town built an entirely new cinema complex nearby and named it Le Méliès in his honour. 6 screens, over 1,000 seats, a rooftop bar, and a programme spanning art house, heritage and classic cinema. It is now Europe's largest public art house cinema. So Montreuil didn't just make cinema history, it's kept it alive. The thing is with journalism that you have to talk to people to find out what's going on. So I just went for a cup of matcha in a very cool cafe called Simpa, and the lady that runs it told me how friendly this neighbourhood is, that they have a combined WhatsApp group, and if anyone needs anything they all message and get it sorted out. And it turns out it's also a massive welcome centre for people from Mali. And look at this cool shop, I love it. More art. Something France really gets right. It makes art possible everywhere. Alright, this is where it all is happening in Montreuil. This is the town hall. I mean, it looks like something from National Socialist Germany. Have you ever seen a town hall looking like that in France? So what do you think of when you think of home? I probably think of an airline seat and a suitcase and the fact that occasionally I get to sleep in my own studio. But whenever I see houses, especially around Paris, it just makes my heart jump. I would just love to live in one of these old stone houses on the outskirts of Paris, because I grew up in England. Most of us lived in houses, unless you were born and lived in inner city London or on a council estate, you probably grew up in a house in England. And I'm just charmed every time I find these neighbourhoods with houses still existing. Look at some of these. I mean, I just said it once, I'll say it again on camera, wow. I just didn't expect to suddenly see a full-on park in front of me. And where we're heading is to the viewpoint, and apparently from this park, Belmont in Montreuil, there is a brilliant view over Paris. So, man, this is the hood. I mean, sketchy characters everywhere, cool, weird, abandoned buildings. I just love this place. I have not felt inspired recently. I mean, I felt excited to go back to Berlin on a trip and totally happy to go and see my dad in England and go food shopping again at M&S, but Montreuil excites me because it's a discovery. I like it. The kids are allowed to do graffiti around here. The houses have got potential. The air is suddenly fresh. Although I see a gate over there, I'm not sure I'm going to get into this park. It's getting late. Or maybe I am. In fact, I think my AI assistant Claude told me this park is open 24 hours a day. Let's see. I've been showing you the edgy side of Montreuil. These past few days, I have explored the area between Robespierre, Croix de Chevaux, and the Marais de Montreuil metro stations. And that's where I found the graffiti, the warehouses, the multicultural buzz, the art. But going back through some old photographs, I was reminded of a couple of summers ago when one Saturday, a bright sunny Saturday afternoon, on behalf of La Phoenix, Bruno and Claudia's school, I took part in a summer showcase in the local park. And that reminded me that there's a whole other Montreux that I'd almost forgotten. Grand houses, tree-lined streets, and an absolutely beautiful park, which makes sense when you know the history. Montreuil, or Montreuil-sous-Bois to give it its full name, was for centuries one of the most celebrated fruit-growing regions in France. Its famous murs à pêche, the old stone espalier walls that trapped heat and produced the finest peaches in Europe, supplied the tables of Versailles. The technique was so refined, so particular to this place, that the peach walls are now a protected historic monument. You can still find them tucked behind streets, quietly extraordinary. Unfortunately, the museum that showcases some of them is only open on a Sunday afternoon, and I missed it. So that's for next time. Anyhow, by the 20th century, Montreuil became a working class industrial town. Furniture workshops, film studios, printing presses, and with that came a fierce left-wing political identity. The town hall has been communist run for much of the last 100 years, which explains that magnificent Art Deco building I showed you earlier. Culture was always taken seriously here. The waves of immigration came later, and that layered something else entirely onto all of this history. The Algeria of the street markets, the North African restaurants, the Arabic signage alongside the French. But underneath all of it, those wide residential streets and that park remain, leafy, unhurried, a reminder that Montreuil has always been more than one thing, and it still is. I'm Lisa Foreman, and this is Nomad, the World is My Beat.